Hi, this is Dr. Pan recording from Tucson, Arizona. Hope life is treating you well, and thank you for watching this clip on classification of numbers. I've been getting a lot of questions. What's the difference between natural numbers, whole number, integer, rational number, irrational, real, imaginary, complex? I don't know about you, just listening to those terms, getting my hair all up. But after watching this clip, it's my hope that none of those eerie or hairy vocabs going to give you trouble. The way we're going to introduce this one is actually take you back to where you started learning numbers in the first place. Okay, so on a test, if you ever get this question classifying them, you forgot everything you learned, think back how you learned them. The first thing you learned is, hopefully, counting on your fingers. Oh, do I have the right fingers? Okay, you count on your fingers. You start with 1 and 2 and 3, so on and so forth, and your parents are very happy all of a sudden you can count. All those numbers are called natural numbers. Just the word implies natural numbers are natural. It's just your fingers, right? So we'll cross that one out. This is the natural numbers. And then when you count to 9, all of a sudden you have to remember there's a 10. And then you're trying to ask your parents, what's a 0? 0 means there's nothing there. I don't know if you ever had that conversation, but I did. Whenever I had that conversation, I remember how proud my parents were. It was such a big deal that I have this thing called a 0. Okay. Now it is, if you look into the math history, is discovery of a 0 is actually a pretty big deal. So including 0 with a natural number, we're dealing with the whole number, as if we covered the whole thing. When I was immigrated, when I in teenage years, when I immigrated, the first time I heard the word whole number, I literally thought my teacher was talking about a hole on the wall, a whole number. I was looking for the hole. Anyway, so hopefully that helps you remember a whole number is a natural number with the whole, i.e. the 0. Okay, that's what the whole number is. As you get a little older, they start introducing, maybe at the 4th grader or so, remember getting into debts. They say, well, the way we write debts is using negative numbers, how much you owe. Okay, so with the whole number adding the negative number, now all of a sudden we reach this thing called integers. Positive or negative, so long they're just a whole number, integers. Okay, we'll call them integers. About a 5th grader or so, you were introduced into this concept of sharing. Remember that? A half, a 1/7, and you try to convert it into decimals and so on and so forth. Those are fractions. Okay, integers plus the fractions over here is this new thing we call rational numbers. I guess the idea behind the rational numbers is that compared to irrational numbers, just like the word sounds, irrational, it's illogical, it's really frustrating because irrational numbers refer to radical 2, which does not have a decimal closed form. It's 1.414, so on and so forth, or this really frustrating thing called a pi, 3.14159, so on and so forth. This chunk is called irrational. As compared to rational numbers, where we can actually write into the fractions. Okay. For example, if you give me 0.3 with the repeating on top, that's really just a 1/3. So this, even though this one doesn't look like it's a closed form, but we can write into the fraction form. It's a number divided by another number. Compared to this thing called irrational numbers, there's really no closed form, and we literally have to go out, make a sign for it. Okay, combining the rational number with the irrational number, the crazy numbers with not crazy numbers, this whole thing is introduced as you guess it, real numbers. Okay. So real numbers, this is take you about to what? This is probably the 7th grader or so when you learn the geometry, how to figure out, maybe 6th grade. The geometry, the circumference, the area, and dealing with some sort of the simplifying the radicals. Okay, so this takes you about to 7th grade. We're dealing with the real numbers. And then all of a sudden in 9th grade, we introduce you this thing. It's a really, really frustrating thing for a lot of students. Radical of -1, by definition, someone said it's equal to I. This thing is called, as you guessed it, imaginary numbers. Okay, so just the word it sounds, it's getting crazier and crazier. Not only it's irrational, now we're imagining things. Okay, so as we go on over here, this is about a 9th grade or 10th grade or so, maybe 10th. Okay, and real numbers combined with the imagined numbers, this whole thing. Maybe when you get to 11th grade, we have this thing called e to the I theta. Okay, this whole thing, combining them together, is called a complex number, where it has a real part and an imaginary part. Okay. As frustrating as it sounds, it's not too bad. Math break. I have a funny picture here. Okay, back to math. So, as I said, the classification of numbers, think of the way you were learning. You're counting +0, and then you learn how to have negative number to count for deaths, and then fractions to learn to share, and then you have the irrational numbers, that's crazy, and then you have the imaginary number that's getting crazier. Combine the real number with the imaginary number, you got a complex number. All right, this is Dr. Pan, once again from Tucson, Arizona. Making math, or maybe making learning math fun. Math can't be fun, but you can make learning math fun. At least I'm trying to make learning math fun. All right, please comment or thumb up if the video has been helpful. Until next time, have a confident day.